can't see without mine at all.
Greetings. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Najeema Davis Washington, and I am here with Clay Middleton, running for mayor of Charleston.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm so very happy to be sitting down with you, Clay, because for some time we've been talking about doing this. And we are two native Charlestonians
Yeah.
that have a story to tell.
Yes.
So, why don't you, for the people that don't know you, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Born and raised in a place called Bayside Manor, which is now Bridgeview Apartments. And people used to say nothing good can come out of Bayside Manor. So myself and a whole bunch of other folks been doing everything we can to prove people wrong. That not only good things, but great things can come out of Bayside Manor.
You've had an illustrious career, and often we don't really brag about those things. But please, run down your resume. Sir.
Well, I won't brag about it, but I'll just say that my body of work has been in public service. I've been in the South Carolina Army National Guard for 23 years, started out as a private first class and now a lieutenant colonel. I worked for Congressman Jim Clyburn for a little over 10 years. I still work for him, I'm just off the payroll. Worked in the Obama administration as the White House Office of Faith-Based Neighborhood Partnerships. Did that at the Corporation for National Community Service, Department of Energy, National Nuclear Security Administration, Secretary Hillary Clinton. I've done a few things.
Okay, yes, you
things,
have.
just a little
Yes, you have. Congratulations on that very robust resume. So I'm going to skip around because I know I sent you some questions. We're going to skip around. What about that experience? What are you going to bring from that experience into the mayor's office?
I have worked at local, state, and federal levels of government at a practical level. And I think for a mayor, especially of a growing city like Charleston, you would want to have someone as mayor, the chief executive officer for the city, that is not only familiar with local, state, and federal government, but how to access resources, how to collaborate, and how to leverage. And I've done that my entire career, both in uniform and out of uniform. I also think my background in the military speaks to team building, discipline, staying focused. And I also think how City Hall is ran could certainly use some improvements with someone with a military background.
Definitely invaluable experience, folks. I definitely know that. So, what key issues has your campaign identified as the hot, button topics within the city? You mentioned the military. I know they're here with the Army Corps of Engineers because we've got, such an important border issue.
Yeah, the seawall.
So, what are those hot button topics other than education or growth of the region? Talk to us about what your campaign has identified,
Sure.
and if you have developed any policies to address some of those things. What would you share with us today?
So, as a whole, people are frustrated in the rapid growth that has taken place in the city of Charleston. I think when you look in certain parts of our city, again in West Ashley, people are frustrated with the lack of activities and a lot of false promises, delayed progress that's taking place in West Ashley. So people are tired of West Ashley, which is the largest part of our city where people live, has not gotten, quote unquote, its fair share of city amenities and services. But then even you go to Johns Island, where you have very little recreation activities, a lot of growth, but no infrastructure to support that growth. So there are various parts of our city that has certain needs and issues that they deal with day by day. But overall, what I hear from people time and time again is the growth, the lack of basic city services, and the lack of vision and leadership that exists in City Hall.
Well, we know that the slate is full.
Yes.
The slate is full. The rapid growth is just overwhelming. Seeing traffic patterns, seeing, lack of services, seeing needs
Right.
We saw a lot of things emerge from COVID.
Mhm.
This is not on the page.
Right. Yeah.
What did you identify as a need in the city that, COVID as a whole sort of exposed the holes and the problems that we had in our systems?
Well, there are a lot of fault lines that have been illuminated because of COVID, whether it is a lack of broadband, whether it's a lack or access to the lack of affordable healthcare, educational gaps that exist, housing gaps that exist, transportation, like you can go down the list. What has happened during COVID in particular is that the city of Charleston really did not leverage ARPA funds from the American Reinvestment Act that could help cities. That was a missed opportunity that took place. So even when you take a look at that as mayor, our job is to solve problems and create opportunities for our residents. And on the development piece, as you talked about, a lot of people moved to Charleston during the height of the pandemic. And now as people begin to emerge and do other activities, it's important that we realize that we still have to address these systemic issues of transportation, of housing, of public safety, of climate. Like there's no shortage
No,
of issues.
no.
It's
You
just
can't
a
be
shortage of vision.
You can't be a mega trend city like Charleston and not make sure that everything is in order and
Right.
and it's too many strains on the resources.
Yes, yes.
So as we talked about initially, I had, an idea of where I really wanted to have this interview, and it was down near where you live,
Yes.
where you grew up,
Yep.
right? And again, that area is looking very different,
Yes.
so very different than it did when you were coming up. So I had the chance to work downtown in that area in the east side over the summer, and I refer to it specifically Lee and America Streets as the intersection of poverty and privilege.
Yeah.
All right. They refer to Charleston as Silicon Harbor.
Yeah.
Right. This great harbor. We've got tech. We've got coming to the area. We've got Fortune 500 companies with their offices and some headquarters here.
Just say it.
Oh no!
Just say it. We don't have clergy here, so just say it.
No, just where's the check for Bayside? Where's the check for the area? What's going on? I mean,
Well, we did not
privilege.
we did not plan for life after gentrification. That's a fact, not in paper. As mayor, I want to be as intentional about providing pathways to opportunity, economic mobility, affordability for people that look like me, you, and my two boys, as others have been intentional of creating the Charleston that exists today.
Yes.
So we do not have equity into our ordinances. We do not have equity in our policies. We do not have equity in how we do business at all. It sounds good, but when it comes to practice, we just don't have those things. When you look at where resources are going, when you look at, as you put it, the poverty and prosperity, too many people have been left out, and by design in some cases. But the reality is, we did not plan for such a growth and development during the 90s and early 2000s.
It was a very intentional push to bring people here. There might not have been so much of a vision
Sure.
to what happens when they get here, when they stay here, and all of those things, and what it means to the people that perhaps were in the areas that these folks are now living.
Yeah, we should not govern ourselves for those that are visiting here.
Precisely.
Yeah, we have to keep in mind that Charleston should not be a destination. It's a place that people call home. And when you understand that, you would recognize that natives, residents, and tourists could coexist. My mother used to say to me growing up, while you're sleeping, they're up working. They're up thinking. They're up planning. I'll never forget that. And maybe that's why I don't get much sleep now, because I always felt that you have to work a little harder, study a little longer, expose yourself a little bit more, just so you could learn things or try and figure things out. Because if you are sleeping and they're working, then whomever they are they working on your behalf or not?
And you're going to work on our behalf.
100%. I better. Yeah.
Because your mama lives here.
Yeah.
My mama lives here. Her mama lives here.
Yeah.
Her daddy lives here.
Yeah.
All of that. All of that.
Yeah. This is personal.
Of course.
I don't want to. When I worked for Congressman Jim Clyburn, even interning, I remember him telling me, listen, if someone called that office, your job is to help them. Not say, well, this is not a congressional matter. This is not a, no. If people call their congressman, they have a need. And you have to do everything you can to help them. Even if you can't solve their problem, they have to at least understand that you tried. More importantly, he said, I don't want to come to Charleston or have people call me and say, hey, I can't get a hold of Clay, or he hasn't been responsive, or he hasn't done A, B, C, D. So I never wanted to do that. And even to this day, I try my best to be very responsive. And as mayor, I still want to go to my church. I still want to go out to eat. I still want to enjoy life. I still want to move throughout Charleston as I do with my family, and not have someone to say, well, you said one thing, you're doing something else, or we don't see you, or there go that. I don't need that in my life. So being responsive and letting people know that I will be a bold servant leader, not only for you and your family, but for all of Charleston.
So being responsive is one of the values that you said you've learned as a result of working with Clyburn's campaign, but and his administration. What are some of the other values that you're going to bring to the campaign?
When I joined the military, January 6th, 2000, I learned of the Soldier's Creed. Part of the Soldier's Creed said, I would not leave a fallen comrade behind. I believe that to my core. I believed it over in Iraq, believed it in Poland, Israel, Lithuania, Turkey. I believed it being on the Arizona-Mexico border. I believe that 23 years later, not leaving a fallen comrade behind. And as mayor, I promise to do everything in my power not to leave any community, neighborhood, or resident behind. Too much is at stake for us to settle for less. Too much is at stake for us to lower our expectations. So those are the values I hold dear. Because when you make a pledge not to leave a community, a resident, or a neighborhood behind, that means every decision you make, how you allocate resources, how you spend your time, is focused on not leaving anyone behind.
It's a choice. It's a choice to come back home.
It is. It is a choice.
It's a choice to come back home.
But it's a choice to be active.
That's true.
So for me, it's about being active. It's not about being on the sideline. Everyone got an opinion, but who's going to actually put in the work? And I just think we do not have. I'm a workhorse. I'm not a show horse. That's just not in my DNA. Doing things easy, I'm allergic to that. So for me, that's why this is personal. For my two young sons, because you got to be engaged. You just have to be.
You do. That's an example for them, their friends, the rest of the community.
Well, everyone, you are the part of the problem or part of the solution. There's no in between.
Right. So you brought up your family. So I've only got about two other questions,
Okay.
unless you say something else that I have to ask
All
you
right.
about
I'll be quick.
before I give you an opportunity to say something. You're talking about your family.
Yeah.
This is not easy. This is not easy. Running for political office. You've got young children and a beautiful, intelligent, loving wife.
Who has a good insurance policy on me? So she. But go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. That wasn't your question. Go ahead. Go
Thanks
ahead.
for the laugh.
Yeah.
No, but just how do they pour into you? What you told me one thing that your mom said that sticks in your head. Is there anything else that either your wife says to you or that your boys say to you that keep you going, that keep you dedicated to this task?
My kids don't care. They're 6 and 8. They are what like a normal 6 and 8-year-old. Daddy got military. Daddy got an event.
Right.
Daddy is working. Daddy, we ain't gonna spend time. Daddy, when you coming home.
Yeah.
They don't understand it. But they do know that if daddy is spending time elsewhere, it's for a good reason. They at least know that.
Mm-hmm.
It might take a while, but they at least know that. And I think for my wife, Nicole, she didn't sign up for this. I always knew that I would be involved in politics, in public service, community service, civic engagement, all of that stuff, but not to the various levels throughout my career so far. So I get the raw feelings and the truth, not the truth, the truth.
There's a difference.
I get from her all the time. And all of that keeps me grounded. My mother, my grandmother, they tell me what they hear, what the street committee is saying. They tell me what they feel. And so that's why I can take on all this other stuff. Because it's been part of my upbringing. And I get it every day. When I wake up in the morning and I go and see my boys and say, hey, good morning, time to get up. I don't get a good morning, daddy, we love you. Mm-hmm. I get a hit. Mm-hmm. I get a 1 more minute. I every day. Mm-hmm. So that keeps me grounded.
Yeah, that's real.
That's very real. That's very real. It's very real. So that's why we do what we do. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I truly believe too much is given, much is required. And so much has been given to me through my family, through friends, through community, that we all have a purpose. And when you walk in that purpose, when you're active in that purpose, you continue to move it. Mm-hmm. And all this other stuff will take care of itself.
Or momentum. No. So my last question was going to be about describing your vision for Charleston as mayor. And therefore, allowing you a few minutes to talk directly to the people, and just tell us your vision, tell us what you hope for, but and also in doing so, because I know that such an important and critical part of this job is going to be working with the people around you. And I don't know how to say much more political it's going to get when you're in office.
Yeah.
So my
say it again. I didn't. For people
when
in the back.
You're in office.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. God bless you. Speaking to existence. Yeah. The vision for Charleston is creating a city that works for everyone. Not putting downtown against West Ashley, James Johns Island, not putting any part of our city against the other. We are one Charleston. And when you are focused on not leaving anyone behind, you think differently, you challenge assumptions, You don't say yes to every development. You make sure that if people have access to one amenity in one part of the city, then the same access is provided if someone lives in another part of the city. So that's why this is all personal. And I think my tagline of being a new brick in an old foundation just speaks to the future. We have to do things for a generation yet born. We have to do things as it relates to our infrastructure, as it relates to housing, jobs, education, climate. We have to look at all of this, not so much of passing the test for the next 5 or 10 years in between comprehensive plans, is to say, what would a generation yet born inherit? And will they say, I am glad they did these things? Or will they say, why did they do this? I want my kids, your kids, our kids to inherit something worth fighting for, not a mess that they have to clean up. One generation got to plant trees so the next will have shade. When you understand that, you understand your purpose. You find your purpose. And that's my vision for Charleston. We can truly be a city that works for everyone. We can truly challenge assumptions. We can truly think outside the box. We can truly be here another 100, 200, 400 years if we do what is required now. That's why I'm running to be the next mayor of our city.
Standing ovation, standing ovation, standing ovation, standing ovation. I'll probably cut the cameras so we can have some private Q&A. But Clay, I wanted to thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
For sitting down with me and bringing this idea to fruition and allowing me to have this conversation with you. It's my hope that the people that I know will get to know you. And I told, your campaign folks in the back, it just really takes one connection. So I'm about turning relationships into results.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. I am your host, Najeema Davis Washington.
One more thing. Sure. For those that see you about to turn this off. For those that are watching, please go to playmiddleton.com. I will be outspent. Fact. I don't have a large sums of money to. If I write a large check, a 4-figure, 5-figure, 6-figure check to this campaign, I'll be divorced before Election Day. So that ain't gonna happen. I ain't got the money. So I cannot self-fund. So I will be outspent. I will be outraised. But I will not be outworked. And with your support, we can knock on one more door. We can make one more phone call. We can send one more text. We can connect with one more voter. And by doing that, we can win this election. It's going to be a ground game. It's hot now. After Labor Day, it's going to get even hotter. But with your support, one vote, that's all we need. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Clay. Again, I'm Najeema. I want to thank Platinum Creations and the Carolina Cookery for their help and assistance. We want to thank Ladies Enriching the Community, Let's See, nonprofit, and of course, the Clay Middleton campaign. Thank you so much for joining us and watching today. Thank you to our audience. We so greatly appreciate you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.